Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Listen, for those of you that are listening in on my podcast, One of by Design, please, please, please know how much I appreciate you. Please like, please share. Please share your impressions, your responses. For those of you that are following me on my YouTube channel, please like, please share, please subscribe, and comment as well. I'm so glad that you were here. I want to start with having a conversation about one of the biggest lies that nonprofit leaders have been told about funding. Okay. I want to talk about the biggest lie that nonprofit founders have been told about funding. If you all are new to me, my name is Jennifer. I am your nonprofit expert, over 40 years of experience helping organizations not just start, but showing them the tools, the strategies, the systems that your organization has to raise money. Okay. I submit to you that money or funding is not your challenge. I submit to you that your organization has not been built, your organization has not been developed or designed to raise the money. Okay. I want to talk about one of the biggest lies that many of you as leaders have been told and are believing. All right. I want to ask you a question first. Have you ever noticed something that just doesn't seem to make sense? I'm going somewhere. Hang on there with me, okay? Have you ever noticed something that just doesn't seem to make sense? How is it that one nonprofit organization with an incredible mission struggles to keep the lights on, while other organizations with what appears to be less compelling mission continues to receive grants? They have major donors, they have corporate sponsors, and donors support year after year. Have you ever asked yourself that question? Have you ever wondered, are we doing something wrong? Have we spent late nights searching for grants? How many of you all have stayed up watching YouTube videos? Googling, honey, you and cousin chat going at it, downloading fundraising checklists, attending webinars and trainings, asking the A and the I to help you write grant proposals. Have you ever used your own money to keep your nonprofit alive? You're paying for the program, you're paying for the materials, you're paying for the supplies, you're paying for everything. Is that you? If your head is nodding yes, you're not alone. In fact, you're exactly who I made this video for. Because today I want to challenge one belief that almost every nonprofit leader has been taught. Are you hearing what I'm saying? I want to challenge a belief that almost every nonprofit leader has been taught. And if what I'm about to share is true, it could completely change how you build your organization from this point forward. You ready? The biggest lie that nonprofit leaders have been told is this. Y'all ready? This is the biggest lie that nonprofit leaders have been told. The biggest lie is this: if you can just find enough funding, everything else will work itself out. Did you hear what I said? That is the biggest lie that has been told. If you can just find enough funding, everything else will work itself out, right? You guys have heard it. Start a nonprofit. You can get a grant. If you can just get a grant, then you can start. If you can get a grant, you can launch your program. If you can get a grant, you can hire staff. If you can get a grant, you can get a building. Everything else will work itself out. Think about how often you've heard that. We just need one big grant. We just need one corporate sponsor. We just need one major donor. We just need funding. Listen, it sounds reasonable, right? It sounds reasonable. I've been doing this work for 40 years, working inside nonprofit organizations, leading fundraising departments, building fundraising systems, helping organizations raise millions of dollars. I remember I was at my when I started in the nonprofit space, I started out as an intern, right? And as an intern, I wrote for over $3 million in grants. Now, I wasn't intended to go into the nonprofit space. I was on my way to law school, right? So all of this work happened in graduate school. Then I went to work for a nonprofit organization and I wrote grants for 8 years. And then I went on to become the director of development where I was raising $25 million a year. Then a job was created for me to help 1,000 organizations nationally and internationally raise money for their nonprofit organization. So building fundraising systems and helping organizations raise millions of dollars has been my entire career. And one thing that I began to notice that really changed my thinking. All right. Again, it was my job. For many of you, you've never worked in a nonprofit organization. For many of you, you've never structured a nonprofit organization. For many of you, you've never built a nonprofit organization. All right. So I'm coming at it from a place of I did the work. I raised the money. And working in and out of so many organizations as my full time job, I began to notice something that completely changed my thinking. And what I noticed, and again, I've been doing this for 40 years, the organizations that keep getting funded were rarely the ones chasing funding. They were the ones building organizations worthy of investment. Now, there's the difference. There's the huge difference. Did you hear what I said? The organizations that kept getting funded were not the ones chasing funding. They were the ones that were building organizations worthy of investment. That's the difference. That's the whole difference. It's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's about the organization. It's not about the program. It's not about the program. It's not about the program. It's about the organization. Early in my career, early in my career, my job was to raise the money, right? That was my job. My job was to raise the money. I had to get money from major donors, from corporations, from in kind. I had to get partnerships, collaborations. I had to get, products and services, doing fundraisers, all the galas, right? That's 8 streams of revenue right there. 8 streams of revenue. So in my career, I knew that the money wasn't the issue because you got multiple streams of revenue. It wasn't about the grants. It wasn't about just simply writing grants or finding more donors or hosting more events. That if I did that, the organization would become sustainable. But let me tell you what I realized. And having done the work now, having worked with thousands of organizations, and I want you to look at yours. Over the years, I realized something that happens over and over and over and over again because organizations are the exact same across the board, right? No matter where you are, no matter what country you're in, no matter what state you're in, no matter what your program is, organizations operate the same way. Organizations raise money the exact same way. Organizations have to build trust with the people that invest in them the exact same way. Listen, I worked in organizations like the American Red Cross. I was the executive director. I was the executive director of United Way. I was the vice president of the Los Angeles Mission. I worked at the Black AIDS Institute. I worked at the African American Museum. No matter what organization I worked with, no matter where the organization was exactly the same. We had to raise the money, right? How did we raise the money? Was it more events? Was it more grants? Was it more donors? No, it was our ability to build trust. An organization that the donor, the funder, the supporter, the contributor could trust. That's what I learned. Two organizations can have the exact same mission. Hear me now. Hear me, children. Two organizations can have identical missions. One struggled every year. Every year they struggled. They didn't have donors. They didn't have funders. They didn't have supporters. They didn't have board members. They didn't have the money needed, right? Exact same mission. Two organizations. One struggled every single year. The other continued to grow. It wasn't because one cared more. It wasn't because one had a better mission. It wasn't because one prayed harder. It wasn't even because one had a better grant writer. The difference was what existed behind the mission. I'm going to say that again for the people in the bushes. The difference was what existed behind the mission. One had organizational systems. One had leadership, governance, financial controls, board engagement, accountability, clear outcomes, documented processes. The other had passion. The other one just had passion, right? One had a fundraising strategy. One had clear strategic planning. One had clear communications. The other had passion. Now, listen, passion is essential, but passion alone does not build an institution. And that realization changed everything. That when organizations, hear the words now, hear the words, when the organization, not the program, not your passion, not your mission, not why you started or what you wanted to do, once the organization was built so that those that invested in it could trust the organization to carry the program long term, that changed everything. Because every organization is exactly the same. Every organization has the 501c3, they got a mission, they got a program, they got a community that they want to serve, right? They have expenses, they got to raise the money. What's different? Two organizations, same mission. What would be different about them? What would be different? Except one organization was built to prove, to show, to demonstrate that the community can trust that organization with the money. Now, the biggest lie is start a nonprofit. You can get a grant. Start a nonprofit just by starting, just by having your paperwork, just by having a 501c3, you can get a grant. And that's not true. You might get that one grant, but we're talking about sustainability. We're talking about organizations that are able to financially carry the program year after year after year. Because the lie only focuses on the starting. Hear me now. The lie only focuses on the starting. Start a nonprofit, you can get a grant. Start a nonprofit, you can raise money. Start a nonprofit, you can get funding. But that does not show you, it does not tell you, it does not explain to you how do I go beyond the starting? because there's no plan for that. There's no strategy for that. There's no leadership for that. There's no structure for beyond the start, which is why so many people are paying for the organization year after year after year after year out of their own pocket. Why? Because the organization is not structured, is not set up, does not have the ability, does not have the capacity to sustain itself long term. Imagine someone came to you and said, I've completed all the paperwork to open a hospital. Hear me now. Imagine someone came to you and said, I've completed all the paperwork to open a hospital. Would you immediately assume that they're ready for surgery? Would you immediately assume that they're ready to perform surgery because they have the paperwork to open a hospital? Would you assume they're ready to perform surgery because they have paperwork? Of course not. Your next question would be, where are the doctors? Where are the nurses? Where are the operating procedures? Where's the billing process? Where's the leadership? What are the safety protocols? The paperwork gives you permission to exist. It does not prove that you're ready to operate. Now, many of you are confusing your program with your organization. Many of you believe that your program is the organization. So once you get the paperwork, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I now am ready to do my program. But the program and the organization are not the same thing. And that's a part of the lie. That's a part of the lack of clarity. That's the part that's not been explained well. You have the paperwork, but the paperwork just gives you permission to exist. It does not prove that you're ready to operate. Now, many of you think, I'm ready to operate, Jen, because this is my program. Jen, I'm ready to operate because this is what I want to do. Jen, if I had the money to do what I want to do, i.e. program, then you're like, I'm ready to operate. No, you're not. The program is not the organization. The donors, the funders, the supporters, the contributors, they are giving to the organization, not the program. But again, that's a part of the misunderstanding. That's the part of the why you're stuck. That's a part of what has not been discussed or identified or detailed for those of you that are now stuck. And you don't even know why, because you believe the lie. Not your fault. Not your fault, right? Because you don't know what's the truth. You don't know if it's a lie. You don't know. And people in this field are not being clear. And many of you are relying on information that's not complete, right? You're not talking to anybody. You're not asking for help. You and Cousin Chad, you and Google, y'all are working this thing out. And they're not, the internets are not giving you the full picture, which is why you're stuck. You type in steps to starting a nonprofit, and it will tell you to start with the paperwork. What is the paperwork? Permission to exist. That's it. It just says you have permission to exist. But what has been said is you started. You started. No, the paperwork just means you have permission to exist. It does not mean you started. It does not prove that you're ready to operate. You're thinking, I got a program. But the donor, the funder, the supporter, the contributor, they're thinking, do you have governance? Do you have leadership? Do you have financial accounting? You got permission to open a hospital, but where are the doctors? Who are the nurses? What's your billing plan? What's your budget? What's your financials? What's your plan for sustainability? That's what they're concerned about. You are concerned about the program, but that's not what they're concerned about. And that's the lie. Because you were told start, but you weren't told what starting means. So now you've received your 501c3 that gives your organization, not program, your organization legal recognition. It does not automatically demonstrate that your organization has leadership, governance, systems, accountability, infrastructure, financial management, board engagement, operational maturity. That's what the funders are looking for. The legal status is the beginning. It's not the destination. Listen, I want you to consider those of you that think funding is your challenge. Because I get this every day. Because people inbox me and say, Jen, how do I find funding? Jen, how do I get a grant? Jen, how do I find donors? Jen, how do I get board members that can help us raise money? Jen, funding is our biggest issue. Consider, are you asking, how do we get funding? When you probably should be asking, is my organization ready for funding? You should be asking, what kind of organization are we building? Are we building an organization that the donor, the funder, the supporter, the contributor, the community can trust with their money? Or are you only thinking about, I need funding for this program I want to do? I want you to put yourself in the donor shoes. I want you to put yourself in the supporter or the grant funder, the foundation shoes. They know you need the money. Everybody needs the money. You can't do the program without the money. I just want you to think, is funding your issue? Or is it we don't have an organization that is built, that is structured, that has a process to bring in the money? I just think that's going to change everything. Because funding does not create strong organizations. Strong organizations consistently attract funding. I'm going to say that again. I think that the lie has led you to believe that funding, the grant, is what's going to create a strong organization. And that's not true. Strong organizations consistently attract funding. Why would there be a monthly donor, a regular donor, a major donor that gives more than once, that they keep giving? Why do they keep giving? Because they trust that organization, not the passion, not your they trust the organization to do the work of putting on that program of achieving the mission long term. They trust the organization with the money, not the program. But that's the lie. That's the lie. The lie makes you believe funding creates our organization. That's why y'all are running around here looking for funding. Jen, how do I get donors? Jen, how do I get funders? Jen, how do I get a grant? Jen, how does my board raise money? No. Ask yourself, is my organization equipped, built, can demonstrate consistently to the donors, the funders, the supporters, the contributors to attract their funding. I just need you to think about that for a moment. For a moment. I just want you to think about that. Funding is not the cause. Funding is often the result. Is it we don't have money, or is it we don't have a plan to raise it? Is it we don't have donors, or is it we don't know how to, we don't have a fundraising strategy? We don't have an acquisition system. We don't have a donor retention system. We're not doing what is required to attract the funding. When an organization demonstrates leadership, strong governance, clear fiscal, financial stewardship, why is that important? Because these people are giving the organization money. Measurable outcomes, not just passion because of something you want to do. That's the lie. The lie has been told, start a nonprofit, you can get a grant. And you think the nonprofit is the program. No, you started an organization that should have operational discipline. It should have long-term sustainability. But that's not what's been told. You all have believed the lie that said, all I got to do is start. All I do is get my paperwork and I can get a grant. Jen, I got everything. I got my paperwork, I got my EIN, I got my articles of incorporation, I got my bylaws, I got my board, I got my mother, my brother, my dog, my cat, my fish on the board. I got everything, Jen. I got a bank account, I got a website. No, that's not an organization. But the lie that you've been told is just start any old thing and there's free money, free money, free money. But now you're stuck. How is it that you're stuck, but the organization down the street is not? How is it that you're paying for everything out of your pocket, but that organization down the street, they've got money coming in? You've got to really examine. Do you just have a program that you love? Or have you built an organization that your donors, your funders, your supporters, your contributors can trust with their investment? Because trust in the organization is what attracts funding, not your desperation. We need funding, Jen. We need money. It's not your organization. It's not your desperation that gets the grant. It's not your need for the money that gets the grant. Now, these people out here that are lying to you, I got a list of grants. I got a list of grants. Now, listen, I'm a grant writer. Okay. I've been writing grants for 40 years. So I get it. But the grant is not giving the money for your program. The grant is examining your organization. That's not what they're not telling you. That's the lie. I don't like using the word lie, but I don't know of another word. If you know of another word besides lie, put it down in the comments. I mean, I just don't think they're telling the whole truth, right? That it's not your program, it's not your 501c3, it's not your paperwork, it's not your passion that attracts the funding. It's not your desperation that attracts the funding. It's can they trust your organization? Imagine how different it would feel if you knew your board understood their role. Imagine how different it would feel if you knew that your board understood their role. that your financial systems inspired confidence, that your programs produced measurable outcomes. Because they don't mention that in the lie. Imagine how you would feel if you knew your organization wasn't dependent on your personal sacrifices. How different would you feel if you knew you weren't guessing anymore? You weren't guessing anymore. Instead of constantly asking, where can we find money? You'd be asking, how do we continue strengthening the organization we've built? That's a completely different way to lead. And it's possible. Listen, I've watched organizations make that shift. It's not overnight because many of you have been inundated with this lie. You have been immersed in this lie. I was talking to a woman last night who said she gave up because she was so overwhelmed and discouraged by the lie. She had believed the lie for so long, and she had spent so much time, so much money, so much energy in doing everything by herself. She didn't understand how to attract donors and funders. And so she was left funding this thing all out of her own pocket. And she was so defeated because she couldn't figure out, why is this not working? Why can't I get this? Why is it that I look at other organizations doing it, but I can't do it? And she finally had to close the doors of her organization. And I was so hurt for her. And it was only because she believed the lie. By the time she got to me, she was exhausted. By the time she got to me, she had given up. By the time she got to me, she was so discouraged. And she said, Jen, I wish I had found you 5 years ago. I wish I had found you 10 years ago. I wish I had found you when I started. I want you to ask yourself, if you've had your organization for a while, what do you wish someone had told you? Someone had taught you? Listen, I've watched organizations struggle. And when I say your focus is in the wrong area, it goes against everything that you've heard. Everything says start your nonprofit, you can get a grant. You're a nonprofit, go to grants.gov. You're a nonprofit, you can get funding. You're a nonprofit. But what they don't say is that it's your organization that's the nonprofit, not the program. It's the organization that's raising the tax-exempt dollars, not the program. What they don't tell you is that the program is nothing but an expense. The organization is set up to attract the donors, the funders, and the supporters. But see, that's not what they tell you. That's not what they say. And you're like trying to figure it out, trying to guess, trying to make it work, but you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. Listen, once you get it, and it may not happen overnight, but it's a step-by-step process, right? It's a step-by-step process. And I'm going to ask you one final question. I'm going to let you one final question before I let you go. If a major foundation reviewed your organization, not your program, not your passion, your organization tomorrow, what would they see? Would they see an organization prepared for their investment? Or would they discover capacity gaps that no one has identified yet? those gaps, right? Those gaps that show forth as, Jen, I'm doing everything by myself. Jen, we don't have a board. Jen, we don't have a fundraising plan. Jen, we don't have any money coming in. I'm supporting everything by myself. That's a gap. That's a capacity gap. That shows them that your organization does not have the capacity, does not have the strategy, does not have the plan to operate long term. So if the organization is not able to operate long term, that program that you want them to give money to likely can't operate long term either. So is your organization now prepared for their investment? And most of you don't know. You don't really know. You know you have the paperwork. You know why you started. You know you're passionate, but you don't know the gaps that's keeping your organization from raising money. How about it's not the money? How about that there are organizational gaps that's keeping the organization from being able to raise the money? Because those other organizations, they're raising the money. How is it that they're raising the money? And you all got the same paperwork. Y'all got a program. You got a mission. You got your paperwork. What would be different? What would be different from your organization that's operating with gaps and the other organization that's not? Is it money? Or is it our organization, Jen, has gaps and we don't know how and why or how to fill those gaps so that the organization has the ability, has the structure, has the process to raise the money? Is the money the problem or is the gaps? Most people don't know, right? And that's not because you're bad leaders. That's not because you're bad. No, it's because no one has ever shown you how to evaluate your organization's capacity. You all are stuck and you don't know why you're stuck. You're stuck and you don't know how to get unstuck. You think it's money. My question would be, well, why can't the organization raise money? Why can't it raise money? What's stopping your organization from raising money? What's stopping your organization from getting donors? What's stopping your organization from getting supporters? What's stopping your organization? And many of you don't know what's stopping the organization. Gap. If you don't know how to fill that gap ain't going to get filled. And money is not going to be the problem, right? You get the grant, you spend the grant, and you still need money after that. You need money consistently. You need money on an ongoing basis. Why is your organization not raising money on a consistent basis? That other organization is. That other organization is. Right? Listen, this is why I created my organizational capacity assessment. I created an organizational capacity assessment. It's not a fundraising quiz, and it's not another generic nonprofit checklist. It's designed to help you look at your organization through the eyes of someone deciding whether to invest in it. When you complete the assessment, you're going to receive a organizational capacity intelligence report that highlights your organizational strengths and it identifies the potential gaps. And it begins showing you where capacity, not just funding, may be limiting your growth. Did you hear what I said? I created this from my 40 years of working with organizations. And again, every single organization raises money the exact same way. Every single organization raises money the exact same way. Every single organization raises money the exact same way. Every single organization raises money the exact same way. All right? So it's not the money. The question is, why is your organization not raising the money? That's what you need to get to the bottom of. Because every organization raises money the exact same way. Every organization needs donors. Every organization needs grants. Every organization has fundraisers. Every organization has sponsors. Every organization needs partners. Every organization needs in-kind. Every organization needs major donors. Every organization needs monthly donors. Every organization raises money through their website. So money is not the issue. The question is, why is your organization not raising money? So I created this capacity intelligence report because, again, my job was to work with 1,000 organizations every single year. All right. So I created this tool, this intelligence report that highlights the organizational strengths and it identifies the organizational gaps that's limiting the organization's ability to raise the money. Listen, whether we work together or not, I'm not in that. I believe every nonprofit leader deserves that level of clarity. That's it. Because it breaks my heart, the number of people who say to me, Jen, I had to close my organization because we're stuck. Jen, I've been paying for everything out of my pocket and we can't grow. Jen, we don't have enough money to grow our program. Jen, we don't have enough money to hire staff. Jen, everybody's a volunteer. Jen, I'm doing everything by myself. And I'm like, that's not how you're supposed to operate. That's not how the organizations down the street are operating. And I believe that that's a lack of clarity. Something is missing because every organization raises money the exact same way. And I believe that once you understand what's really happening inside your organization, you'll stop guessing and you'll start building intentionally. You know what I'm saying? You'll start building intentionally and you'll stop guessing. Have I challenged your way of thinking today? Have I challenged your way of thinking? I hope so. That was my goal. For those of you guys who've been following me for a while, you know I'm going to tell you just the way it is, honey. I'm going to tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And some people say to me, Jen, you're so mean. Jen, you're so mean. Why are you so mean, Jen? I'm not mean. I'm on your side. I'm direct. I'm honest. I am going to tell you what it is. And I just don't want you to guess, right? I don't want you guessing. I want you to be sure. I don't want you leaving my videos or my podcast or my YouTube channel. I don't want you leaving thinking or asking, where do I find more grants? Where do I find more funding? I want you to ask a different question. I want you to ask a different question. Am I building an organization that attracts funding like the other organizations? I want you to walk away thinking that, asking that question. What kind of organization are we becoming? Because money is not your problem. After 40 years in the nonprofit space, I'm convinced of one truth. I raise money. I'm a grant writer. I write books about it. I teach people how to do it, right? I teach classes. I teach it in college. This has been my career, and I've helped thousands of organizations, both nationally and internationally. And this is one thing that I know to be true. Funding does not create capacity. Capacity is knowledge. Capacity is strategy. Capacity is not information. Capacity is not funding. Funding does not create capacity. Capacity, your knowledge, not your information, but your know-how, your strategy, your systems, your structure, your process to get the funding. Capacity creates funding. Listen, if this conversation has resonated with you, I want you to follow me. I want you to subscribe because this is where I explore what it truly takes to build an organization that isn't just legally formed, but genuinely fundable, sustainable, and built to serve its mission for generations. And when you're ready to see your own organization through the funder's eyes, the organizational capacity assessment is waiting for you. All right? It's free. All you got to do is take it, and I will give you feedback to let you know where your gaps are. And now you know. Now you're not guessing. Now you're not trying to figure out on your own why are we not raising money? I'm gonna tell you. Okay. Yeah, when you're ready for that assessment, the link is going to be in the comments. It's bit.ly org assessment form. And it's waiting for you. I want to take all the guessing away. I want you to be clear. All right. Until next time, keep building the organization that your mission deserves. I'll see you next time.